Hi everybody, it's 314 React here. Today we're going to be looking at Horizon Zero Dawn. And we're going to be looking at running it with native resolution versus simple upscaling versus AMD Fidelity FX. Hopefully we're going to get NIS working as well, and DLSS. So hopefully we'll be able to get screenshots of all of those, run those through ICAT, as well as see the general performance while it's running. So we are running on top end settings, 4K. Ultimate quality on an RTX 3090 with a Core i7 6700K. So there may be some CPU limitation, but I think at these settings it shouldn't be too much of an issue. Even then, we'll still hopefully be able to see the difference in quality between simple upscaling, NVIDIA and AMD stuff. So it should be really, really interesting. So let's dive right in. Alrighty, so here we are in game. Native resolution 4K. Looks really, really nice. We're running about 69 nice frames per second there. Yeah, pretty much looks like your standard issue, in terms of technical quality, your standard issue 4K TAA image. This game looks really amazing. It's one of those games that's really technically proficient as well as having an amazing art style. So this should be quite an interesting and enjoyable comparison. So if we go to an area that has quite a bit of detail in it, we want some grass, we want some stuff. There we go. Right. Let's grab a screenshot of that. So that is going to be... There we go. So that's native. As you can see there, the trees is kind of shimmering. It's not a perfect image. Kind of some of the limitations of TAA. So what we're going to do now is we're going to flick it up to simple upscaling at high quality. So it looks like simple upscaling goes to ultra quality. So I've set it to that. So that's got it to 81 frames a second, and you can see it's not that bad actually, but you can tell there's a definite loss of image quality there, bit of blurriness. I imagine this is just slightly under 4K being interpolated up to 4K, otherwise it would look a lot worse. But generally, that's not too bad. I was expecting a lot worse from that. But then that is the ultra quality version of simple upscaling. So I imagine it uses a more advanced version of interpolated upscaling. I'm not sure. Anyway, let's flick it over to NVIDIA's NIS. Okay, as you can see here, NIS is not doing anything. I'm not sure why, because it's on in the driver settings. So it should just be a case of cranking it down to 44. Oh, then again, I've got that upscale method on here. Let's turn that off. Nope. Okay, so NIS should just be a case of turning it down to 1440p. That's what's set in the driver settings. I don't know why it's not doing that. Nope, as you can see, it's just slammed the resolution to 1440 and it's shoving up to the monitor's resolution and not really doing anything too smart with it. Just gonna have a look at the drivers and have a check here. So yeah, as you can see, the image scaling is on. Got the overlay indicator on. Yeah, I'm just going to check the other setting under GeForce Experience. Alrighty, so as you can see, yeah, it's set here 67%, 2560 by 1440, which is what I was setting it to in game. No idea why that wasn't working. I'm going to try and reboot the game. I now have the overlay on, so I should be able to see from my side whether it's actually activating or not. And hopefully we can actually get NIS to run. I wish NIS was just a bit simpler to run than this. I don't know. It just seems it doesn't always work 100% of the time as it should, but we'll see. Alright, so I rebooted back into the game, and here we are. NIS appears to be working now. I don't know why it wasn't before, but that looks a lot better and a lot more what we expect from one of my previous videos where we saw NIS working in Breakpoint. Not quite perfect image quality, but still pretty damn good. And we're at about 100 frames a second here, so we've gained about 30 frames there, which is really good. Let's grab a screenshot of that. Okay, so here we are with FSR on ultra quality, and we are at 90 frames a second. And again, it still looks really good, very comparable to NIS, but maybe a little bit better. In fact, definitely a little bit better. I think just obviously the increase in quality there with FSR is what has taken that frame rate down by 10 or so FPS. Because FSR is just built into the engine, it's a lot easier to get it to run without having to reboot the game, or NIS can sometimes also affect your desktop as well. So when I exited out of this game after testing NIS, all the fonts are really small for some reason. So it's one of those things where NVIDIA could do it a bit better. And if a game has FSR in it, then I would choose that over NIS. But yeah, looking closely, it looks really nice. Not seeing too much shimmering, it's not too blurry, it's not over sharp, which is really interesting because I think in last week's video, Terminator Resistance, putting on FSR, it looked a bit sharp, but I don't think that had Ultra Quality. I think Ultra Quality is probably slightly higher resolution internally, which could explain why it looks a bit better than NIS did, because NIS was upscaling from 1440p. So we could turn this down to just quality mode. Let's do that. And there we go, 100 frames. Still looks slightly better than NIS did, to be honest. Grab a screenshot of that. GPU's been pretty much sat at around 99-100% through all these tests. So you can still see there's kind of like some detail issues in her hair where it gets kind of sub-pixely and the grass in the distance, stuff like that. But nothing too noticeable or horrible, no horrible blur. Not even that much sharpening, really. Maybe it's just the implementation in Terminator Resistance that added a bit of extra sharpening at the end. Anyway, let's turn it up to DLSS Quality. And here we are, DLSS Quality. And definitely the best image quality. I mean, first of all, no loss in image quality. In fact, there's a gain in image quality over 4K with TAA. Because the grass no longer seems to be shimmering. The wooden sticks in the background there look really nice. Her hair looks great, really detailed, no shimmering. The movement doesn't look blurry. That tree looks amazing. Again, just like all versions of DLSS I've seen 2.0 onwards, and it keeps getting better, seem to produce the effect of super sampling. So this looks like 2, maybe even 4x super sampling, but of course we're getting like 90 to 100 frames a second. So 20 to 30 frames above native 4K, and we're getting super sampling levels of quality, which is just incredible. Let's get a screenshot of that. I mean, just looking at it now at the monitor, it just looks ridiculously good. Yeah. Basically like any other game, but DLSS just looks insanely good. And if we flick back one last time, back to native. Yeah, the tree doesn't look as clean, the hair doesn't look as clean, the grass doesn't look as clean, in the distance especially. The overall image just doesn't look as clean. Of course, you got like the TAA, blurry artifacting. Yeah, it's really interesting without that AI filling in the gaps. It's been, the whole model I think has been trained on like 16x super sampling image. So yeah, it makes sense that it looks that good. Let's flick back to DLSS again. Really nice. Again, that distant grass just looks so much cleaner and more natural. Because I think the algorithm is able to deal with the subpixel shimmering nonsense and other things and make sure that comes out very nicely. Oh, it's really good. It's so smooth as well. So I think that's a definite winner, but we will be looking at it under ICAT. So let's just move around a bit. Ooh, that feels nice. And of course, because DLSS is constructing the entire image, as well as movement vectors and all this other stuff, you don't have the issue of the upscaler simply upscaling, you know, the TAA'd image and all the artifacting that comes with that. And some of the weird blur and pixel oddities with movement and stuff. You don't get any of that in DLSS because it's smart enough to deal with it. And oh my god, this looks really gorgeous. Movie level gorgeous. Wow. Especially that hair technology. Whoa. That is really nice. And the distant trees. Wow. I mean, you get so used to seeing leaves looking like absolute garbage on games, so these look really nice. This is the true test of anti-aliasing technology and upscaling technology in general, is very organic areas like this. And wow, that is really breathtaking. That is really, really amazing. I'm going to grab another screenshot here, and then I'm going to put it back to native. See, it probably looks really subtle in YouTube with the compression on, but being here right in front of the actual monitor, you can really tell those pixels. Like, you can really tell it's in native, it's obviously 1-to-1 to the pixels, rather than anything smart, making sure those pixels blend together in a nice way. I mean, even on native, that looks really good, but you can just see the things reminding you that it's a video game, because at the distance I am from my monitor, I can't see the pixels per se, but I can see the effect of subpixel shimmering and aliasing and parts where the geometry detail is so fine that TAA is not dealing with it very well. But then when you crank on DLSS, yeah, it now just looks like a flawless image. There was even some shimmering up in the top left there on one of those mountains in native. Something weird with the textures or something strange was going on, and even that's disappeared. The only thing I can see a little bit is those birds in the distance have a little bit of a trail on them, which I think could be due to they're so small on the screen, the pixels. There's something up with maybe the handling the movement. The algorithm isn't doing so well. But other than that, it's just phenomenal. Like, really breathtaking. And when I crank on HDR, it almost looks like I can reach my hand through the screen, dive into the world, crawl into the world, and become a part of it. That's how clear and amazing it looks. Okay, so let's take those images, chuck them into ICAT, and let's do some comparisons and see if we can get another screenshot with the latest DLSS DLL. Don't think this is the latest. I'm going to have to double check on that. And then we'll see if that makes any difference to the image quality. We'll try and get back on this rock again. It'll be very difficult to get a one-to-one picture again, but we'll see what we can do. We'll do another comparison on that. So here we are with the very latest DLL. I'll put the link in the description where to download the latest DLSS DLLs, and it looks amazing. It's even running a few FPS faster, I think. It was running about 91 frames in this area before, and now it's getting up to 94 frames. That could just be to the fact that I'm in a slightly different area. It's being rendered differently. But generally, I think that average frame rate is a bit higher than it was. I'm just trying to find the exact location I was in before, which I think was about here. So yeah, I think that's certainly some visual improvements as well. It's always worth updating that DLSS to the latest one. I'll also put a link in the description to an application someone's been working on that will update all your games for you with newest versions of the DLLs and make it a lot easier, but it's still currently in beta and doesn't work all the time for me, but it's something to keep an eye on. Wow, so let's grab a screenshot of that. Okay, now let's get to ICAT. Alrighty, so here we are. On the left we have native 4K, and on the right we have the simple upscaler. As you can see there, 73 FPS on native 4K and 82 with the simple upscaler. But as we scroll across, you can see the definite drop in image quality. It's not disastrous. It's not as bad as internally, you know, going through the monitor. But that could be because it's set to ultra quality. Like I said, I didn't want to sit there and comparing every single one of the qualities for every single one of the settings. Otherwise, it would just take too long. But this gives you a general idea. So you can use the simple upscaler. I'm not sure that actually uses it. It must just use some sort of basic, I don't know, algorithm for interpolating and pumping that image up, but more advanced than what you'd get from just running a lower resolution through your monitor. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, again, clearly when you zoom right into the hair details there, from 4K native, you can clearly see a lot blurrier and a lot less detail there. But not disastrous. I mean, if you're struggling to run the game, that's a pretty good thing to switch on. I mean, it's not horrendous. I don't think, you know, I mean, some people wouldn't even notice that. It's really nice. I don't think the UI elements are affected by it. Let's have a look. Yeah, they don't seem to be. So that's very, very interesting. I'll have to try and read more about what the simple upscale actually is. So let's put on NIS 1440. Slightly differing area of the image there because I had to reboot the game, which is annoying, but you can generally see with the grass there the difference, just a lot less detail. I mean, also it's closer grass, more detailed grass. It's annoying that I had to reboot the game to get this, because it's kind of ruined some of the images, but never mind. But as you can see there, the tree, a lot more detail on native 4K, and then a lot blurrier with NIS there. So I mean, generally overall, NIS does the job pretty well. You do lose a bit of detailing, but it does get your FPS up by a considerable amount, which is really good. It's exactly what you want. I do believe it runs on anything, most likely any card from the past 6 years, same as FSR, which is really, really good. So let's switch over to FSR Ultra Quality here. And again, it's a bit of a different area, which is really annoying. So I mean, we know that 4K is going to look better. So what we'll do is we'll just start comparing between NIS and FSR, and hopefully that stayed in the same area. Again, had to reboot the game to turn NIS off, but here we can get a nice comparison. Very similar image quality, so you've got NIS on the left and FSR Ultra Quality on the right. Really similar quality, although FSR Ultra Quality does look slightly better than NIS, and it gave it a slightly lower frame rate as far as I remember. Then if we switch over to FSR normal quality, and try and zoom in between the trees here, you can see that's when it's much more comparable. So NIS 1440 is about comparable with FSR quality, which means I imagine if you were to set NIS to 87% of the resolution, that would be more comparable with FSR Ultra Quality. So that's kind of gives you a comparison, therefore the two are actually doing. Now if we put on, leave NIS 1440 on the left and try and put DLSS Quality on the right, and again get a comparison of that tree, you can see where the details are maintained much more. Like even NIS 1440 there, and that the tree there and the grass there, you can see the difference. If we flick over to FSR Ultra Quality on the left, have a look, see if we can get that tree compared. There we go. So that's FSR on the left, Ultra Quality, and DLSS Quality on the right. You can see the difference there between just a simply upscaled low resolution image and an image that's been built from the ground up with ML. Much more detail. I mean, that's just crazy. And it still gives you a really good frame rate. Probably around the same as FSR Ultra Quality, but it looks a lot better. And you probably won't see it in screenshots, but even the detailed grass just looks a lot better. You can see it's much more pixely there, and then you go over here, it looks a lot more merged together nicely, which means you get less pixel shimmering and stuff like that. A much more natural looking image. Very clean stuff, especially in the hair here as well. Just a much more advanced image. Just makes the hair look softer and more natural, especially this cloth here as well. And again, just reduces that pixel shimmering. Much cleaner image. Let's put native 4K back on the left. See how cleanly that scrolls across. You can see here, I mean, it's not exactly the same area again, but you can even see just the wood here, the grass there. It just looks too pixely. It looks very unnatural. Like I said, just too pixely. Whereas here, it looks much more like grass, much more blended together more naturally. The hair, the clothing, everything. Just looks much better. Yeah. It's so much better. Go to this screenshot here, and hopefully this screenshot here. We should be able to get a direct comparison now. So we've got native 4K on the left, and we've got DLSS using the old DLL on the right. So we can do a direct kind of comparison. So you can see there's much more detail in the spaces in between the pixels there. You can see like step. And as you go to here, you see there's much more detail in step with different colors in between, averaging out, which is why the image looks so much better with DLSS on, because it's just adding in so much more detail between the pixels. Same with the hair there. Blending those colors in between the pixels nicely. Not blurring it, blending it in a smart way. So you've still got that detail there. The rather harsh color stepping of the hair there. This is as far as I can zoom in. You can see the rather harsh stepping color. And that's what gives it that kind of pixely aliased effect. And then you go across, It's much more detail. You've got much more different color gradients in there, averaging it out. So it's much better in terms of aliasing. This tree here is another example. Much more detail there. Much more additional pixel values added in between details. That's why it looks so much smoother, especially this tree here. Like the harsh stepping there on the pixels. It's a much softer stepping, much more blended. Again, without any real loss of detail. In fact, it looks like there might even be a bit more detail with DLSS on there, which is just crazy. That's why the image looks so much nicer. And you go into the really distant areas here as well. Just more smoothly blended. Much more detail added in between those pixels. So if you can, definitely run DLSS. It's definitely the best upscaling technology there is right now. And it works very well with this game, like I said. The more organic the game, the more it shows the ability of the upscaler. And you can even see here, if you zoom right in here, that tree looks more detailed with DLSS on. You're getting more detail on that tree. The grass looks better. The bark on that tree just has a lot more definition to it. So you're getting better anti-aliasing, better definition, looks better, runs better. Even a bit on the rock there, there's extra detail on that rock there, which is just crazy. Even that grass looks a bit more filled out as well, because the algorithm is just detecting that and filling it in the way it thinks it should, and it just looks better. But you're getting like 20 to 30 extra FPS. Now on the left, we're going to try and load up the new DLL. I'm not sure how well this is going to match, because again I had to restart the game to do it, but let's see how it compares. Yeah, that's the old DLL on the right and the new DLL on the left. So just looking at the grass quality here, yeah, even the grass looks better. Like, that is blended in a much nicer way. Wow. Oh wow. Yeah, okay. It looks like they have improved some things with the oh yeah, there's extra detail on the bridge there as well. Wow. Looks like they've added some improvements to the ML engine, that's for sure, because it's adding in extra detail, softening up certain things, making trees look better. Wow, that is pretty intense. So yeah, it's definitely worth keeping the DLLs up to date. I wonder what DLSS 3 is going to look like. I think that'll be where they finally get it, so you can... God, look at that rope. There's extra detail on the rope. It could be distance, it could be camera angle, it could be lighting, because again, I had to reboot the game, so it's a slightly different camera angle, and it's a slightly different time of day, but you can just tell looking at the rope there's a lot more detail filled in around those bits of the rope. So there's less aliasing compared to there. So I'm fairly certain they have added some significant improvements from whatever DLL the game ships with to whatever DLL is now. I think 2.3.5. So yeah, I can't wait for them to, like I said, I can't wait for them to finally add it into the driver level, so you can add DLSS to any game. That would be the golden ticket, and then you won't have to mess around with NIS screwing up your desktop or whatever, because NIS isn't the best, really. It's not as good as FSR, although it does work on virtually any game, but it's a bit janky. But yeah, DLSS is the king. The only thing I can see unseating DLSS is Intel's XeSS, which, if it has the same image quality and performance gains but works on any hardware, that'll be pretty amazing. But for now, NVIDIA, for better or for worse, at the top of the game there at DLSS. I mean, that's just incredible. Absolutely incredible. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you made it all this way, then you may as well hit like and subscribe. Let me know what you think of DLSS and any settings you want to see. This isn't a comprehensive comparison between all the different qualities of all the different methods, but just gives you a good idea. So yeah, I will see you in the next video. Have a happy holidays, everybody.